All right. Hello, and thank you everybody for joining us for today's webinar. It's titled Building Bridges Through Cross-Department Collaboration. My name is Gary Zepke, and I'm joined by three of my colleagues, Josh Ely, Eddie Hunt, and Matt Hopkins. We are all members of the sales engineering team here at Accela. Today's session will be recorded. You'll receive a link via email within 24 hours after the session. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A feature on your screen. This will allow us to track and manage incoming questions and answer as quickly as possible. If you do experience any technical issues, please use the chat feature and we'll resolve ASAP. Let's go ahead and take a look at our goals and priorities for what we're going to focus on for today. First and foremost, we're going to focus around collaboration across the entire agency. Transparency amongst internal and external organizations, so your back office folks, along with your mobile processors, along with your citizens. Simplifying the flow of data, the ability to work anytime, anywhere using mobile processing. And all of this is going to be customer-centric for your operations. And everything that we're going to be looking at today is looking at it from one platform for all. So let's take it and look at what we're talking about there. So we're looking at the Accela Civic platform. It's very broad, it's very deep as far as the offering that it has. Today, we're going to hone in and focus on planning, building, business licensing, fire prevention, and we're going to do this through three different lenses. First, we're going to focus on the citizen experience or the customer experience in the portal. Next, we'll take a look at it from a back office agency processing, and then we'll wrap up with looking at it from a mobile perspective. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first scenario. So when we look at it from the citizen experience, your customers are the focus of everything that you do, and delivering state-of-the-art experiences for them is at the forefront of your mission. Let's go ahead and take a look at how Accela can handle the customer experience better. For that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Eddie.
Thanks, Gary. And for this first vignette, with the looking at it through the lens of the citizen, I'm going to be wearing the hat of a citizen business owner, Eddie Paisano, who's looking to open a new restaurant, Paisano's Pizza, here in Augustus. And with the citizen portal here, what you want to do is create an efficient experience, collaborate with that applicant so that you can guide them in the direction of the right licenses and permits they need when embarking on a commercial project such as this. And you can do that through a predictive search like you see at the top here, a traditional menu structure. But today we're going to interact with a chat bot, and it's going to ask Citizen Eddie a few questions about his project to steer him in the right direction. So what am I trying to do as a business owner? I want to start a new business. And what type of business do I want to open? In this case, it's going to be a restaurant. So based on my responses, it's dynamically going to decide what the best route is for me. In this case, it's to answer the commercial projects questionnaire, and it gives me a link. So out here on the commercial projects questionnaire, this is kind of a wizard style experience. It's going to start by just letting me know, okay, what are we about to do? We're going to ask you some questions around business type, location, type of construction, and scope of work, and then give you a response of permits and licenses you need to apply for. So first, you can see it already populates restaurant as the type of business. And then for location, I can start typing in part of the address, and it's going to identify a list of addresses. I select it, and you can see here the parcel of the zoning, and I can identify, yep, that's where my business is going to be located. And now the type of construction. In this case, we're going to be remodeling an existing structure, and we're not adding any square footage, so that's the best response for me. And now some specifics around this, this remodel. So what's the size? And you can see that based on the responses I give, it's going to ask me certain questions. So if I am demolishing a portion of a building, well, does it have a sewer connection? In this case, we're going to say there is no demolition. I will be performing some trade work, so there will be electrical, mechanical, and plumbing for this remodel. There's already water there, so I'm not needing new water service, and I won't be working in the right-of-way. So based on my responses, my results are, I need a restaurant business license, but I also need a commercial alteration building permit and then trade permits for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. It gives me some information about each of those and the cost that I might incur by applying for each of those. So now I can jump right into any of these, and I'm going to start for this example with the commercial alteration building permit. So this is going to jump me right into the online application. As you can see, without having to sit down and actually have a planning meeting or make a phone call or send emails, I'm still working with the agency. collaborating with me almost automatically by using that questionnaire. And now I can just step right into this application and start filling it out. By entering my address here on the map and selecting the appropriate address and allowing me to use that location, it's also going to automatically feed me the parcel and owner information because they're all tied together and connected to the instance of GIS that's associated with this particular agency. So you can see here, it's pre-populating the address parcel owner information based on the address. And now I can just continue on with this application. So this is Paisano's Pizza remodel. Oops. Lost my spot there. Hold on a second. Start back over again, my bad. Try again with the address. Hit back on my mouse. And continue with this application. Now I can choose to fill out the required fields only on this application, or I can fill out all the necessary information. For this purpose, I'm just going to step through required only. And now here's another example of collaborating with individuals. In this case, I'm going to create a contact list. So anybody I add to this contact list is going to get notified along the way of any changes to this application. So I can keep them involved in the process automatically. And then I can also add any licensed professionals. In this case, a general contractor I already have assigned to this project is Sandy Zerlip. So I'm going to associate Sandy to this as well. So you can see here, I keep everybody involved notified along the way, and they can log in and check on the status of applications as well using the portal. And then finally, I'm going to add attachments to this particular application, a floor plan and an interior photo. And those are going to be able to be reviewed by anybody who reviews this application along the way. So we're all working off of the same group of documents. So I save those and attach those to the application. And then finally, I have an opportunity to review this application in its entirety, make sure everything's accurate to the best of my knowledge. And then I can choose to either pay for this now or defer payment. And either way, it's going to submit it. And it's really up to the agency whether or not they allow the defer a payment. But then you can see here, it's going to create a record number. This has been submitted, but it's also giving me feedback. My fire life safety plan is a required attachment, and I did not attach that to this record. So what I can do is, even though it's already been submitted, I can jump into this record that's in a pending status, and I can add another attachment to this along the way. So I'm just going to add another file. In this case, my fire life safety plan. Continue. And then I just have to give that a document type and then save that as well. And now everybody who reviews this is going to see that fire life safety plan as well. And then I can sit here and just monitor the processing status along the way. You can see right now it's at the intake stage, but there are a number of other tasks along the way that it's going to flow through. And Matt's going to show you that shortly.
Thanks, Eddie. So folks, as you can see, when we look at it from a citizen's perspective, it's a simplified, guided user experience that we provide, updates communication throughout the entire process for everybody. And the underlying foundation is collaboration for all. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our next scenario. We're going to focus in on the back office or agency processing. With multiple departments engaging in processes both simultaneously and with dependencies, it is essential to have a powerful workflow engine. The system must provide the open lines of communication and transparency for the agency along with your customers. To help show how Accela can handle this, we're going to turn it over to Matt. Matt?
All right, thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so what we've done is we've submitted our commercial project online, which starts our collaboration digitally with the permit department. Ultimately, we want to get to the permit and then the certificate of occupancy so we can open the restaurant. But there are usually a lot of steps that have to happen in between: application reviews, zoning, plan set reviews, fire code compliance, comments, approval, email, and all these things are subject to deadlines. These are the elements of workflow. And often they're siloed between the different departments as well as the applicant. So it's hard to fulfill service level agreements if these things are disjointed. But that's where Excella comes in. Excella's core competency is creating a collaborative workflow for all stakeholders, a workflow that automates tasks, notifications, fees, and provides concurrent plan set review and much more. Specifically for today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the concurrent workflows that occur between building, planning, and fire, as well as how the permit tech would handle the intake to start. Really, this is that collaboration between all functions and the applicant. Let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on my permit tech hat, arguably the most important person at the permit center office, as we know. Now, normally I'd be sitting down at my desk, 7 a.m., cup of coffee, and I'd be at the counter accepting questions and people that are coming in and answering the phone. What I'm going to be doing now is digitally processing the permit that Eddie submitted online. So again, normally I'm at the counter handling the customers, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in using a web browser. You can use Firefox, Chrome, Edge, or Safari to log in. I'm using Chrome and I'm logging in as the permit tech. So the nice thing here is the first thing that I see when I log in is an overview of what's going on in the permit center. And this is going to give me a really good idea of where our processing status is overall. You can see intake review issued, completed, and a really nice service level agreement of 5. You can also see the seasonality and how that drives the SLA or the service level agreement. You can see here that in Q2, we had an average days of 10, and we can drill a little bit more into that as compared to Q4. Now, you'll also see around the pie chart here which application and project types are driving that service level agreement, and if there's a relationship in the location as it relates in the jurisdiction. Maybe it's a certain contractor that we're having either good or bad results with. Then you can look at workload summary. So which departments are represented here and which departments have what kind of level of workload. Is there a need for resource or is there a process problem? You can see that the building department has a large lion's share of the intake and the inspections. Furthermore, that leads us to be able to look at individual contributors in the department and see who's really doing what. Again, how are we doing in terms of training on people? Do we need to, do some backfill? And what items perhaps have been deferred that are going to affect our service level agreements? Finally, we see specific timing as it relates to processing. And this workflow kind of dashboard here is really going to give us some insight with regard to which steps, how long is it taking, and specifically the audit trail as it relates to those things so that everybody can be on the same page. That really helps me as a permit tech or as a building official. Why? Because I want to keep that service level agreement high. The cool thing about Excella is because it automatically assigns tasks to keep that service level agreement high. All I have to do is select my dashboard here and I can see my, my project that's been submitted online. And I can go ahead and review it. Now, by extension, Eddie is collaborating with me digitally. So he's populating all these data elements when he submits his application online. Things like the square footage, change of use, existing use, what the square footage of the actual project is compared to the building, and types of alterations, that type of thing as well. Here are the attachments that he gave us. So we can do some work with the attachments. We can do a little bit of preview on the floor plans to make sure they're not upside down and backwards. Things like the fees have already been assessed and invoiced, and also are feeding the GL, which is really in a collaboration between the permit department and the finance system. So we want that showing, as well as that licensed professional, and finally the GIS. So we're not just capturing address, parcel, and owner. We're actually doing is creating a feature on the map to help us with our planning and zoning. So really for me, my job just got a lot easier as the permit tech. I can go in now and process this workflow. Now, what's really nice about the system is this is also going to notify all stakeholders of the processing status. So it's letting Eddie know and anybody else that needs to know as well. What it's doing is kicking off our collaborative workflow between planning, building, and fire. This is important because I can tell from first-person experience that agencies are often photocopying plan sets, putting Post-its on those, and that type of thing, and distributing them. But with Excel, you don't have to do that any longer. I can go ahead and collaborate digitally within the departments and send those kind of workflow steps and those plan reviews around as necessary. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the permit tech hat. I'm going to put on the planning reviewer. So the planning office is really concerned to make sure that all new building is in compliance with our zoning and really our maybe our development district or a general plan. So as the planning reviewer, I'm most concerned with how this looks in the map. Does this keep in line with our planning and zoning rules? And what you'll see here is when I launch that link to the map, it immediately exposes the zoning layers, right? So that's really helpful for me. That makes it easy for me to check and verify that this is in commercial as it should be. And as well to look more closely at the project area as necessary. So I can just select on the parcel layer and then get into things like the parcel fabric, which may or may have additional information to help me, metadata, as well as a link out to Google Maps. Now what you'll see here, here's the location that Eddie is going to be doing the internal remodel, and it is in the development district. You can see a new development right here. So we're trying to attract businesses to this part of town. It looks like it's working. You can see as well the history of other things that have happened out there at that parcel. So we've had some other restaurants go in there and do some alterations. So it gives me a really nice 360-degree view of that. So really my job as a plans reviewer or the planning reviewer is it becomes really easy as well. I book my time, that feeds our dashboards, and then we're on to the building department and the building official. I'm going to put on my building official hat right now. All right, so as a building official, I may be spending half my time here in the office. Right behind me is where I review my plans. You can see on the plan set table. The other half of my time I may be spending in the truck. So what's really important for me is to be able to access the system from wherever I am. And that's what I'm doing using a web browser. So I might be in the truck on my laptop having to do my plan review. Not a problem with Excel. Why? Because when I click on documents, I go to the floor plans and select review, and that launches the integration of Excel with your plan review tool. So Bluebeam, Adobe Pro, ePermit Hub, ePlanSoft, DigiPlan, Project Docs. Those are all connected to Excel. And so for me, all I have to do is go in now and add my comments. For instance, for the range hood, needs electrical plans. Right? Maybe we want to make sure that the electrical, the mechanical, or the venting is significant or in compliance with what we need from a plan set perspective. And then we get down into things like being able to use bubbles and color coding and all that type of stuff, as well as the ability to add a stamp, right? So we're going to add a dynamic stamp on this just to let everybody know that we've been looking at this and we've approved it. The nice thing as well about the system is that it allows you to see other people collaborating. So you can see when I open the plan set, other people are in there automatically doing their markup. So that's an internal collaboration that happens within Excel and also within the markup tool. So when I publish my updates or get updates, I can see other people. So it looks like Fred was in there doing some markups here regarding fire ratings and that type of thing. So it's really, really nice for me to be able to collaborate with that person at the same time as I'm doing my markups. I'm going to check the plan set back in. And what that does is it allows us to see the revision on the record itself. So there you can see my revised plan set right there. And that keeps a chain of custody and timestamps that, so we have the version control in place. So really my job as the building official just got a lot easier. I signed off on my plans. Looks like they're good to go. I can book my time, which feeds our dashboards, and hand it off to fire.
All right, so I'm wearing the hat in the fire prevention office today, and as Matt was showing, working on the building plans together. So it's really nice to be able to collaborate with the building department get all the same updates working off that same plan set. And I'm just finishing up my review to identify any of the issues with the plans related to the fire code. And then Eddie's going to get, once we publish this out, Eddie's going to get those updates and be able to submit those revisions here. So just finalizing that. And then I can continue on with reviews of any of the other fire related plans. So you saw in the beginning, we were using conditions to flag certain types of documents as being needed. So now it's nice that we've got all of those documents early on in the process. We don't have to ask for, follow up and things here. So I've got that fire safety plan, and I can use those same plan review tools to go ahead and review those and indicate any updates that might be needed for any of the customers. So once we get those plans documented, sent back to the customer, go through our revision cycles, we'll finish things up again with workflow like you've seen so far. So reviewed all my changes here. We've got all the plans back to Eddie. He submitted the updates. We'll go ahead and approve it. Again, documenting any time if we want to track that to see how long we're spending on these different reviews or charge fees for different reasons there. All of that can be automated here through the Excel platform. And then based on those approvals, everything's finished up. That workflow that Matt showed earlier, getting through all of those concurrent reviews with planning, building, and fire. And then again, now that everything's approved, we can automatically get that permit issued so that Eddie and his team are able to start that project. And then this will send out any of those email communications to contractors back to the customer with copies of those documents so that they have those to provide on site as needed to get that project going.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Eddie. And thanks, Matt. So a lot of information there on the second scenario. So when we look at the agency processing, again, constant communication with the customer, transparency amongst all your departments. So no matter which department, everybody's in the loop of what's going on. And then the collaboration and simplifying the data workflows, which results in happy staff and happy customers. Let's now go ahead and take a look at our final scenario. We're going to hone in on customers for a minute and then look at inspectors and mobile processing. So when we talk about your field workers, they're always on the go and constant communication with both their back office peers, along with the constituents that they serve. It is imperative to have a robust system and a reliable tool to handle mobile processing. Let's take a look at how Accela Mobile gets the job done, and let's start it off with Eddie.
Thanks, Gary. So, as the applicant, I have been following this process along the way, and actually I just received an automated email from the system when that permit was issued, and you can see the permit attached to this email. It gives me the update that my commercial alteration permit has been approved and issued. So now it's on me, right? When I'm ready for inspection, I can just use that hyperlink to jump out to this record. You can see now I'm at the inspection phase. And what I can do is right from here, go out to inspections, and I can schedule or request an inspection using this scheduling wizard here. So I want to schedule my fire pre-op inspection with Josh's department, and I can select from available time slots on the calendar. So I'm going to just take the first available slot. I'm going to continue. I can make sure that my contact information is accurate for if they need to contact me. I can add notes. So I can say like, oops, please call ahead before you head this way for the inspection. Let me know you're coming. Click finish. And what this is going to do is automatically schedule that inspection for me. It's also assigning it to an inspector, Fred Collins in this case, based on his discipline, his availability, maybe even his location. And then along the way, I can just follow along with the processing status. And I can also go back to my records list. And I can monitor all of my applications. You can see all my trade applications, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, my commercial alteration permits, but then I also have my restaurant business license. This is all in one spot for me to monitor all these licenses and permits as they flow through the process.
All right, so I'm going to wrap things up and get my fire inspector hat on here. I'm going to head out into the field and take a look at these inspections. So we're using the Accela mobile app on iPads. It's also available to use with Android and Windows devices. And what's nice too is that this actually works offline. So I can download my job list ahead of time. If I get into a building where I don't have service, I'm still able to conduct these inspections. And so when I log in, I get a nice list of those inspections that I have assigned to me by day. And then I also see them on the map throughout the community. Again, the same GIS map that you've been seeing throughout the solution here is integrated. On each job, if I've got any notes from the customer, I can take a look at those. And then I've got tools. So in this case, please call ahead. If I want to integrate to either the phone or to texting, I can collaborate with the customer ahead of time to be able to let them know I'm on my way. And then conducting that inspection is easy because I've got access to everything right on this device. So I've got a job summary here, type of inspection we're looking at, where it's at, and who I should talk to about it. But I can, at any point, I can get back to that record that's driving these inspections. So if I want to take a look at those documents, so I can review those, fire safety plans, I can review those building plans right from my device here ahead of time. Or if I need to check while I'm on site with anything that's documented, I can do that electronically here. So really nice to have that. And then along the left-hand side of the menu here, this is how I'm going to conduct the inspection with checklists and comments and be able to add any, conditions or things that might come up during that process. So these checklists are tied to the type of inspection. So for this case, we're looking at a pre-op inspection. I've got my list of items that I need to review or make sure that I review along the way. And if I find any issues along the way, I can quickly document those, indicating, status. If I want to add attachments, either taking live photos or choosing from a library of photos in my device, I can add those. I can add my markups to that or comments related to that, identifying the issue. And then we can also add either free-form comments with some specifics, or we can integrate and bring in your code libraries, whether you're using NFPA or any local ordinance type codes here, so you can cite those along the way. And you can search. I know those libraries are big, so we can search for different comments really quickly, and then add that to the issue. So we've got the appropriate documentation that's part of those reports that go out. And then I just finish up my checklist. I'm going through all the items that I need to review, documenting those. Once I'm done with that, I'll result it. So again, these statuses are configurable and they'll drive what happens after this inspection gets completed. One final chance again to attach comments overall for the inspection, either free-form again or from a library of code. And then we can include those signatures for both your inspector as well as the responsible party. So we can get that documented as part of it, any requirements that you have, and then their name. So that'll be included on the reports that go out related to this. Done with that, we'll submit it off. And then again, what happens next is based on your processes. So if things passed and we can issue that certificate of occupancy in this case and create any additional occupancy records, so future inspections can be scheduled. Or if we need to trigger an automatic reschedule of inspections because we need to follow up on issues, all of that can be automated. And all of those communications also go out at that point in time, including any reports that you might want to attach to those communications. And if you need to, you always have access to run these reports right from mobile as well. So you can see it's documented here, that inspection result with any pictures of any issues, along with all of those checklists and any code that was cited along there. So really easy and nice to take that in the field and conduct that work as we go instead of on paper and then having to document it at a later point in time. Lastly, I'm going to wrap up with an inspections dashboard. So now that we have all this data in the same system, city leadership, department leadership is able to see those reports at any point in time. So you don't have to provide them these weekly reports any longer. They can just go in, run those reports, see our inspection totals, maybe dive in and see any issues and what our most common violations are, so we can create some outreach and education to those, or talk to contractors about improving their processes within that within our building and fire inspections. And then lastly, a team view. So be able to see inspections by team, drill into that and get any totals and stats around that, along with details around those inspection types. So with all of us on the same system, collaborating through plan reviews, through inspections, we've been able to speed things up for customers quite a bit and be able to provide that transparency to everyone that's involved in that process.
Great. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Eddie. Thanks, Matt. So folks, as you can see, anytime, anywhere access for mobile inspections, mobile processing, 360 communication. So it really is closing the loop on communication. So everybody's constantly in the loop. whether it's the external folks along with the internal folks, and then full transparency for everybody. So that concludes today's presentation. We want to thank all of you for joining us, and we look forward to working with you in the near future. Have a wonderful day, everybody.